5 major categories of suffering that you will suffer for Christ. And if any of them were to happen to you, don't regret. It's part of witnessing. Number 1 is persecution and opposition, where they insult you, they threaten you, they imprison you, they reject you. They are called persecution. If you are insulted for the faith, if you are threatened, if you are imprisoned, if you are rejected, count it joy. Matthew 5, 10, 11 is called persecution. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. You can be in the ministry, you can be in business, you can be in politics, you can be in the academia, you can be in the armed forces. This is not for preachers. If you stand for truth, you will suffer insult, you will suffer rejection, you will suffer imprisonment. Paul's experience, 2 Corinthians 11, 23 to 27. This is where we speak about martyrdom. Paul was speaking about other ministers, and he said, are they ministers of Christ? He said, let me speak as a fool. I am more. He said, in labor more abundantly, in stripes above measures, in prison more frequent, in death often. This is witness. He said, of the Jews 5 times I received 40 stripes save one. That's 39. He said, thrice I was beaten with rods, once I was stoned, thrice I suffered shipwreck, a night and a day I was in the deep. He fell into the water for a whole night and a day. He said, in journeying often, in peril of water, in peril of robbers. At least I've experienced some of these ones. Thank you, Jesus. I remember when we were coming from Taraba. Meanwhile, when we went to Taraba, they were fighting Jukun and the thief people. We saw dead people on the road. They said they just attacked. When we got to Zakibian, the driver said, I'm thief, I won't cross, they will kill me. And the Jukuns won't cross from Wukari. So it's Fulanis that cross with people. If you hear that, you will call your host and say, is there any preacher around that environment? What I'm feeling, I'm picking some signs. I think God has put his word in somebody. Fetch that person quick. When we were going, if a pin falls, you will hear the sound. We saw dead people by the road. Then when we were coming back, I was to preach in UNN. So we didn't have all the traveling issues. We eventually got different vehicles, crossed into Zakibian, got to Benue Links, and we're crossing to Makodi to proceed to UNN. As we're crossing around Obolo, we saw cars parked. People were running to the bush. I know some of you who are of the spirit, you will sit there loving Jesus. Victor entered the other window. I entered the other one. Flew out of the window. Took off into the bush. There was a day we were traveling to Vandikia to preach. As we entered the car, bus caught fire. People were saying, hey, open the door. Open door? Did you hear that the wind carried men? I over through the window. When we ran, I looked back. I discovered the fire was not much. Came and opened the door and took off. Somebody saw me. He said, you be soldier? I said, you don't know. I be soldier for Christ. This is soldier of Jesus Christ. There was a day we were going to Enugu. That day, see, may the Lord strengthen our faith some more. A car passed, overtook our bus, and when we looked through the window, we saw some giant guns. You know those days, when you are traveling, they had some narrow paths that they used for shortcut. Driver turned now, where are you going? The driver parked and waited for some time. He said, then don't go. Go where? We couldn't trek back. We now sat and started speaking in tongues. That's why sometimes when you pray, close your eyes. It's not today. It's not today. When we die for God, not today. Guess what? As we drove for like 2 minutes, one of the robbers, they stopped and they wanted to kill. You know all these fowls that are like birds in the bush? The guy was shooting. Why they didn't rob us that day is Jehovah. We would have died many times. Didn't I tell you about Owerri? We were taking off. 5 minutes into the air, plane started falling. Hey! Everybody was shouting. I looked through the window, it's like a bus descending from the air. Is it today? I grabbed the eye. If we die, we'll die holding. After I walked, the plane stabilized. I went to the pilot when we landed. Meanwhile, people prayed till we arrived. Everybody became a believer. I went to the pilot. This is an old elderly British guy. He said, I don't know what was. That's the mess in the air. Mess. It's messy, not mess. Who would have sank? Now, there are times when we're involved in accident, the spirit of faith rose. But many times, bro. That's why I say we walk by faith, but we trust in mercy. I was in Ghana with my friend Kusi, Reynold Kusi. A car hit us by the side, threw us to the other side of the road. He was shouting. I said, it is well. Spirit of faith. But sometimes the spirit of faith comes late. That's why you call it in perils of waters, in perils of robbers, by my own countrymen, by the heathen, in the city, in the wilderness, in the sea, amongst false brethren. The guy knew all the category of suffering. In weariness, in painfulness, in watching, even intercession, in hunger, in thirst, in fasting, in cold, in nakedness. You say you are a disciple? Any little thing you say, why are things happening like this? For Jesus, it's worth it. It's worth it. It's part of our witness. It's called persecution. Number 3 is emotional and mental suffering. This is where you speak of sorrow, loneliness, anguish for the sake of Jesus and the church. You won't know why you become defensive. Because you have been shot too many times. It will now affect your witness. Paul was speaking about one of his soldiers here who was sick unto death. So there are sorrows, emotional, and then there is social and economic suffering, where you lose possession, where you suffer poverty for the sake of Jesus. Imagine you are in Lagos and God now tells you, go to Gombe, and it calls a village where there's no light. If you are not a witness, you won't go. You know, our missions now, we want to carry the gospel to America. I will, Lord, send me. As you are saying, Lord, send me, you are seeing the map of America. You are seeing the map of England. When God now answers, he will say, go to Mozambique. There's an urgent work to be done. You say, no. Satan speaks in these last days. Be careful what you hear. Because you know there will be economic breakdown. It doesn't look like blessing to you. That's why most of us can't be entrusted with much. See, if you want to be a witness, tell yourself, wherever he sends me, I will go. The Bible says, so long as you have what to eat, what to wear, and where to lay your head, he said that should be enough for you. Now, if God blesses you, enjoy. The Bible told us God gives us everything richly to enjoy. God is not against living well. But if for the sake of Christ, you need to suffer, hunger, suffer it. It's part of your testimonies. Look at the missionaries that came to Africa from the Western world when we were dressing with Bente here. Now, some of them came with economic and political ambition, but there were Puritans who came and established the foundation of the gospel. Some of them died of malaria, and there were some that even in death, They said their corpses should not be sent home. They should bury them in Africa as a testimony that they came and died for Jesus. Those Christianity, that type of Christianity is no longer popular because we want to satisfy people's appetites. That's why we're under pressure to prophesy from January to December. God blesses and we should encourage it. But we must also raise men that are willing to suffer for Christ. Paul said, I have learned to abound and to abase. I can do all things through Christ which strengthens me. That means in plenty, I know how to manage resources. In little, I know how to survive. All for the sake of the gospel. Finally, type of witness you will suffer is spiritual suffering. That is warfare. The resistance of sin, enduring temptation, and battling principalities and powers. Oh, see, there are places you go to and preach Christ because souls are saved. They will shoot arrows at you for a month. Even accidents will be orchestrated. They will move men to hate you. Some will shoot you as their own life's assignment. You saw what happened in the world last week. Because a young man said no to abortion. He said no to immorality. He said no to terrorism using religion. He said Jesus is Lord and nothing can change it. Somebody shot him. Because of woke culture. He said no to transgender, no to LGBTQ. They couldn't take it because it's a corrupt world. If you think Christianity is apart from suffering, you were discipled wrongly. I'm an advocate of the blessings of God. But I also know that if you cannot give up everything for Jesus, whatever you call a blessing is your idol. You will drift into idolatry. So you will suffer. As a young believer, I didn't know warfare. I went to preach at an NYC orientation camp. Power of God moved. I felt challenged, felt stirred, and I confronted territorial spirits because I knew what happens in NYC camp. The spirit that make people to be defied and deflowered before they leave orientation camp, I bind it. The spirit of immorality, the spirit of rebellion. As I was driving home, one of my tires exploded. I thought I was excited and was speeding. We changed the tire. We started literally trekking. The same tire exploded. On the road, I said, Jesus, we are surrendered by your blood. Have mercy. You don't know. I laid in my room. I started interceding against, because I was in Benue. I saw that immorality was becoming the order of the day. Young ladies literally fornicated and did harlotry to buy hair. On campus, you will see them on Friday go out in droves. Cars come to pick them. When we started interceding, I laid on the floor in my room. Those periods were the days when I fasted 21 days in a month, rest for 9 days, fast 21 days. A being walked out of my wall. Naked woman, head was a man, carried an apron on the neck. I wanted to move, I was paralyzed. He sat on my chest. Nothing. I just remember they that call on the name of the Lord shall be saved. I said, Jesus, save me. It dematerialized. But for 2 weeks, I was drowning in lust. In those 2 weeks, if I wasn't helped, I would have fallen into fornication. And somebody would look and say, look, we said they are fake people. All these people shouting up and down. He won't know that it's warfare that brought me down. It's called spiritual suffering. Peter said in 1 Peter 4:1, he said, they that have suffered in the flesh, they have ceased from sinning. The same way Christ suffered. You endure temptation. You endure hardship as a good soldier of Christ. It's part of your witness. If you are beaten today, can you sustain your testimony? If you lose your job, can you sustain your testimony? If you were to move from the place of your comfort for the sake of Jesus, can you sustain your testimony? If you came under attack because of Jesus, they gang up against you, demote you, can you sustain your testimony? Now, if these things are not happening to you, how can you say you are genuine? This is why even our songs today are powerless, because they don't come from witness. Every day we are singing jongo, jongo, jongo up and down because we don't know witness. The elders sang from their journeys in the spirit. The places they stood for Jesus. So when a man travels with his companion and is stoned to death, when he comes back, if he's singing, his song will carry a weight. They don't sing songs because they are excited. They sing songs because they journeyed with God. The bright and morning star is the fairest of 10,000 to my soul. That guy has judged. Nothing on earth can. In sorrows, he's my comfort. In trouble, he's my stay. He tells me everything. Is the lily of the valley, the bright and morning star. Is the fairest of 10,000 to my soul. We need to raise men that are willing to lose their job to maintain their testimonies. If I have to, men that will endure demotion to sustain their testimony. Otherwise, we have lost our generation. We need to raise men that can endure accusation, affliction, suffering, and stand their ground. Daniels that can confess lordship even in the lion's den. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego that can clap in the fire. We don't only clap in miracle services. Even in the flames, we need men who can glorify Jesus. Not those who are full of lamentations and complaints the moment comfort is taken away. Those who are mastered to abound and to abase. He is the fairest of 10,000 to my soul. This is who the apostles were. In Acts 5:41, they were glorifying God that they were worthy. This is the like of Stephen. In Acts 7:55-60, stoned, yet he looked up. Oh, how can you look up when you are being stoned? Every time you lift up your eyes, a stone can hit you. But he looked at glory. He said, I see the Son of Man standing by the right hand of the Father. Their Christianity stood the test of time. It overcame trials. This is the testimony of the prophets of old. They were not just seers. He said, time will fail me to speak of Barak, of Gideon, of Jephthah, of David, of Samuel, and the prophets who through faith subdued kingdoms, obtained promises, shut the mouth of lions, quenched the violence of fire. Weak men made valiant in battle, put to flight the armies of the alien. And he says some of them were sawn asunder. He said yet they stood their ground because they were looking forward to a more glorious resurrection. We can't suffer for Jesus. That's why our Christianity is largely fake. The early believers, they didn't migrate for supplies. They migrated by persecution. Today, even when you post somebody to England, he's, hey, finally, God has answered my prayer. You know why he says, now he's dealing with pounds. He becomes creative. How do I bring all my family here? Hey, let's enjoy. Before you know what is happening, on Sunday morning, he will sell Oporoko in London. Because that's when Nigerians buy foodstuff. Oporoko, he went. A fiery preacher in Nigeria became a businessman. Now, I'm not saying missionaries do business, but that's not what you went. When you say you want to now post the pastor from London, that's when you will know that he will say, God told me 2 weeks ago that my assignment here is over. He will create a new vision. Leave London to where? Where are you saying? Say you are coming back to Zimbabwe. Say no. 2 weeks, no wonder. Now I understand that vision. I didn't know the meaning. I was in light and now entered darkness. So this is what, oh my God. He will write you a resignation letter. And you can't You can't pull him out because now he has resident permit. So what you did was you helped him migrate from Africa to England. That's why we are crying. God knows tomorrow. He knows that what you are looking for is immigration. It's not kingdom. Because it's called Alpha Omega. It's in yesterday, it's in tomorrow, before he's in today.